All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for some real people out there just like you and just like me. All right, before I get going, I've been doing this a lot lately because apparently I'm one of the few that do it, and people are thanking me. So here's City of Lights. This is an album I promoted earlier in the year. Did an interview with superhero Neil Austin. He is the brainchild of City of Lights, along with a great singer by the name of Manos Fatsis. I'm not sure if I said his name correct, but just a brilliant album. White Snake, Jeffrey, anything very melodic and fluent and real chunky sounding from the 80s. But again, this thing has its own footprint, and you should check it out. Really, really great music. City of Lights, at least stream it. At least stream it because the artist gets 0.00097 cents or something every time they get a stream, and that can add up to pennies after a while. So yeah, just saying. If you could buy a physical copy, probably would be a good thing as well. Look, somebody's got to do this, and I'm not saying I'm the only one that does this. There are guys on YouTube that they review albums, and people don't watch those reviews. Sometimes they do. But anyway, I put this in at the beginning of the video so people can check it out. Speaking of people checking out, right? Is Heart all done as a band? Well, no. There's a rumor going around that next year is going to be a big deal for Heart as they celebrate their 50th anniversary. Even though I don't think the sisters have the same philosophy on the future of Heart. You hear this when Ann Wilson does articles. Almost every single time she does an interview, she talks about, how her and Nancy aren't on the same page when it comes to what Heart should be doing. Ann Wilson wants to be forward-thinking and, to break new ground and, girl power, and we can put something together that's better than anything else we've ever done, and we're going to make inroads into the rock music world. Well, Ann Wilson dropped an album earlier this year, and she had this song called Greed, and I think that got about 118,000 views on YouTube, which is okay. It's pretty good. I mean, if you were a no-name person and you got that many views, but I can go over to like the outlaw country stuff, and they got millions and millions of views. I can go over to Frontiers Music, where, by the way, one more little plug that this comes from, City of Lights, and they will do a video for a song, and it can easily exceed the 118,000. And what does this indicate? Well, it indicates that fans of this band want traditional Heart. If you're going to put together a 50th anniversary celebration, it should be the 50 years of Heart. It shouldn't be trying to reinvent the wheel. You shouldn't be trying to sell something that people don't want per se. For instance, right? So Heart comes out with new music, say, next year, which I don't know if they will. Just like Journey came out with Freedom. Now, whether I like it or not, whether Jonathan Cain likes it or not, Freedom is not doing all that well when it comes to getting airplay and people talking about it. Look, folks, it's all of the older music that gets these younger fans interested in these older bands. And in the case of Journey, it's always going to be like Don't Stop Believin' and Who's Crying Now and Open Arms and Separate Ways, which is now part of Stranger Things, just like Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill, which I think is charting on Billboard right now. I think it's like top 20 Billboard, top 10, both adult contemporary and over on just the top 40 stations. So it's kind of weird, but we're living through a different time. We are in a period of time where it's not necessarily the quality of the song that matters. It's what social media makes that song go viral. That's kind of what is happening a lot of the times. Yeah, you have your traditional terrestrial radio, and Chicago and the Doobie Brothers right now, both getting some airplay over on adult contemporary stations. Um, but the problem for Heart is unless they do something kind of traditional like that and really try to focus in on that audience to get a few weeks of exposure on a format that is not paying that much attention to all the good stuff that's out there, but continues to focus on the same old artists that they play. I mean, Justin Bieber, why? I mean, okay, all right, sure. By the way, I hope he's doing okay. I haven't heard too much about his health issues lately, but we did talk about it here a little bit. But getting back to the feud, there's probably no personal feud going on, even though you had that "Who Let the Dogs Out" incident back in 2016 or whenever it was. And it seemed as though these two sisters weren't going to reconcile. They did. I think the promoters probably got them back together again with a pretty decent sum of money being offered for a tour. And I think even more money will be offered for the 50th anniversary tour. After that, I don't see Heart going on for too much longer. Maybe they will sporadically. Um, Ann Wilson is in her 70s, and Nancy Wilson, I think, is approaching 70. So I don't know. I mean, you just never know with these bands. Some of them just continue on, or one of the two continue on. Maybe they'll both continue with their own bands. That's what I'm thinking is probably going to happen. Um, but it's kind of weird how it just becomes this. If we're not relevant, then we're not going to do the tour, kind of a thing, according to Ann Wilson. And Nancy at least says, "Hey, um, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've got a wheel. We've got this catalog that people want to hear. If anything, what they ought to do is dig a little deeper into that catalog. You know, as a fan of their music from the 70s and the 80s, there are a lot of tunes that are not on the radio anymore that used to get radio airplay that Heart fans will remember. I mean, it's so weird how everything is focus tested, where if you go off a little bit on a tangent and do something that people aren't familiar with, that becomes a problem, and the promoters have a problem with it, and the radio programmers have a problem with it. You have to kind of stay in line, stick to the script, you know. And I think you could do a great 50th anniversary if you focus on all of these songs that probably aren't on the radio anymore. Stranded would be a great example. How Can I Refuse would be a great example. And you can just go down from album to album and probably find something that uh, isn't being played anymore and people might remember. And even if they don't remember it, maybe they should remember it, you know? And yeah, you got to do your set list where, you know, Barracuda is here and then that other song is right next to it. So you don't lose everybody. This is the theory over at radio that if they start playing, you know, new stuff by older artists, they're just going to lose their audience. And I think that's a pile of BS. I just think it's all political, and it's a lazy programming, lazy in the sense that they could do a much better job keeping the audience on its toes. And I think a Heart concert would have to be kind of like that. And I think people would really dig it, you know, but we shall see. I'm sure there's a lot of money being offered for the 50th anniversary concert. And these two sisters, if they do have personal issues, which they keep denying, no, we're fine, we're good. We just don't agree on the direction of the band. Okay. So we like each other, we're okay with each other, but we don't like, I mean, this is kind of a big issue. In other words, if you're going to go out on tour, you probably want to be on the same page. You might have one sister saying, hey, we need to really inject some new things into this that people haven't heard. Then you've got the other sister saying, you know what we need to do? We need to stick to our classic catalog and give the audience what they paid to come and see. So I think Nancy Wilson is right, and she has been right for quite some time here. And the other issue is you got to admit, maybe when you're coming toward the end of your career a little bit, and I think there's been a big reluctance certain people who are out there touring kind of pretend that, oh yeah, we're going to be relevant for another 20 years. I'm like, you're lucky if you're going to be here for another 20 years. So, just trying to be honest. But in the case of Heart, I think they could put this together and do a great job. I think they have to keep politics out of it too, which oftentimes Ann Wilson gets political. I think they just need to play to their, flyover country audience. They think they're, this left coast band, and technically, geographically, they are. But musically and philosophically, there are a few moments here and there in certain songs that might indicate that they're a little bit activist and a little bit woke, shall we say. But for the most part, it's kind of like generic. It's neither here nor there. It's just great music. You turn it up, you listen to it, you have great memories, and I think people need that. People need the nostalgia. So let's hope that Heart goes out there and does a great job and keeps that nostalgia going. All right, people, that's the video. Ann and Nancy Wilson. And here's City of Lights one more time. Just getting it out there before the sun sets. Interesting story behind the title of this album. And again, you have to dig into this to kind of figure that out. If you can find the interview I did with Neil Austin, really cool guy, just super cool guy. It was one of my favorite interviews of 2022. He's just a humble, decent man, and he loves music, and he sits there and works really hard at trying to create great music. So it's a good story. Anyway, that's the video. I will see you soon.